Welcome to Talmudic Treasures. Today we're learning Nedarim, page 12, which discusses a way to make something forbidden to yourself by comparing it to another item that is also forbidden in some way. And the practical example is comparing this permitted loaf of bread to, for example, an offering or sacrifice. That the sacrifice itself was something in which was designated through a vow that it's going to become sanctified, and therefore at that point that is now forbidden. So too this bread should also be forbidden, and we are also going to apply it, as the Talmud here says, to the following scenario. A person says, I will not eat today, just like many years ago on this particular anniversary or yahrzeit. This was a day in which my father died, or this is a day in which my teacher died. And on those days, I made a declaration I wasn't going to eat meat, I wasn't going to drink wine, and I didn't do that. And also now, many years later, I also want to be able to accept upon myself that restriction because of that particular day. So that actually works, and therefore that statement is enough that now you're going to be forbidden to eat on that particular day. In addition, the Talmud gives other examples. For example, when it comes to one who sees Jerusalem as it was destroyed and sees its destruction, that we don't have the temple anymore. So that devastation, the first time you see something, it's so impactful that a person fasts. And because of that, again, maybe many years later, when you revisit that same site, you wish to do the exact same thing. And it also gives one last example when it comes to the murder of Gedaliah ben Achikam. Gedaliah, in which is a fast day right after Rosh Hashanah, the next day, in which we remember this great leader who was murdered. And on that day, it's actually a rabbinic fast day. So just like a person made a vow, I'm not going to eat on that day, so too, any time that you make that statement, connecting back to it works. But we see from here a couple very powerful things. It shows the tremendous respect that a person has for their parents, teacher, Jerusalem, and our leaders, that even many years later, not only that day a person refrains from eating and drinking because it's so difficult and it's such a sad day that how could you eat? So therefore we restrict ourselves from doing that. But even years later, a person may do the exact same thing. But it also teaches us another important concept. The very first time you experience something, again, like going into Jerusalem, you've never been in Israel before, every single thing you see, you're soaking up. And therefore, when you see the temple and it was destroyed, it's devastating to see that, especially that one could recall how beautiful and the splendor and how spectacular this building was. That first time, it's so powerful. But then, as we experience things over and over, we may lose that passion, or we may lose that particular feeling that we once felt from the first time. And the message here is that we have to remember, even years later, to reconnect ourselves to those original powerful emotions. We should try to remember the very first time that we did something, and it could be not just sad things, but we're talking about when something was amazing. For example, your wedding, and when you first fell in love with your spouse. A person many years later should try to recall those feelings, those emotions. And by doing that, you're going to propel yourself back into that experience, into that moment, and therefore it will change who you are today. Let's not just keep our memories in the past, but let's use that energy and to be able to cause it so that we will have a more impactful present.